So the topic, it's an interesting topic, is originality overrated in the copy pivot win era, right? So many of us would have been used to this, or at least heard of this example, where two students are writing an exam. A copies from B and gets better marks than A, and then B. Sorry, right? So who should get the grade? Should B be getting it, or should A get it for, like, doing a better job of modifying it and making it more interesting, right? So, and this is probably largely story, but there is also some real life instances. Like, for example, um, when Ray Kroc went to McDonald's, right, that speedy service that the McDonald's brothers started, were just in their own locality, and they did a fantastic job of processing the whole thing. But Ray Kroc took it and made it much bigger, so much that now everybody associates Ray Kroc with McDonald's, and nobody knows those people there, right? So the question here is, in this context, so what is it that what is the, what do we attribute innovation to? Is it doing something completely new, or is it about making something better, and possibly making it more accessible to people, and so on, right? So the question is, um, can better execution and fine tuning of things outperform originality? And is that what is, do you think that is more important now than starting afresh and getting big ideas? So I would like to hear people talking about it.
So I'll just give my view on it. I think the answer is both. Because when you look at today's world, we actually need both. And if you look at innovation, one is the step change, the Kaizen innovation, and the other is the entire piece of step change, where you come up with a new idea and do something fantastic. Truth of the life is today that you need both. Because the moment there is an original idea which comes in, there will be somebody else who will pick it up at, as you rightly said, copy, paste, and pivot, and move in a huge way forward. At the same time, innovative ideas, some of the ideas which really make a huge difference, those are something which will come through breakthrough ideas. So I know that there are multiple stories which support both. And my viewpoint would be you need both of them.
Over to you.
So I think, like she said, right, I'll break the businesses into businesses which are creating IP versus businesses which are not able to create an IP, right? The ones which are not able to create an IP, I think execution matters a lot, right? And you have enough examples. Forget like what is happening outside of the country. Like I work in Swiggy, and we do a lot of grocery business. But if you go back 10 years back, there were companies like Big Basket and Zop now, which started the whole online grocery business, right? They stagnated at a particular place. And someone came in and someone said that, hey, this makes sense, but for it to get wings to fly, something else has to be done. And today there are companies which are doing, let's say, 10x of the incumbents, right? So I think there's no shame in saying that, okay, there is something which is already being done. Why not pick it up and do a better job of it, right? So that's what my thought process is. If the business is not something which is IP related and there is execution is the key, then whoever can execute well is the one who will hold the key to success.
Kartik, do you think there are some sectors that are more appreciative of better, faster, cheaper kind of stuff than doing something completely new, or not? Like,
No, I think there are several threads to this, particular conversation. Amongst many things, actually, even for those who end up copying, if we really have to, think about that, organizations have to really last longer. I think they will also equally run into trouble if they don't focus on innovation. So for me, for even people who do exceptional execution, or copy an idea or better it, like was said before, I think even for them it's equally important to be able to kind of think through, because in all cases, and there's this Greek historian called Thucydides. I think one of the aspects that he mentioned in terms of war, saying if a society separates scholars from its warriors, then its thinking will be done by cowards and fighting by fools. Right, so there's a gap between people who execute and there's a gap to people who think. I think in many ways that's the argument. I think execution is required irrespective of what the ideas can be. Ideas are commodity. Execution will eventually come out to be key of what is to be done. So I don't think so there is going to be any specific scenario where you will end up having folks who even take an idea or better it. I mean, there are you gave one of the examples. There are so many. In fact, right now with all the TikTok and everything, people have actually forgotten that there used to be a Twitter service called Vine really long back. That was, short form videos and all that. Even much before iPod was there used to be Zune by Microsoft, right? There's so many such examples which are there. But there's somebody else who picked it up, really innovated, went beyond it. Right now, it's actually even iPods are defunct now. It's really moved to the mobile, right? So I don't think so there's one idea or not.
But then, Binny, like for what you were saying, so one is innovating and having a great idea and thereby creating that. But sometimes it can be also that's it's something like an idea whose time has not yet come. Could be the differentiator between the original idea and what gets. So what do you think that it is more of a timing issue there, or like when do you think one favors the other?
So I'm going to steal a line from all the XLRI professors. It depends. It depends because all professors, yeah. It depends. I think there are several examples. If you think of digital camera, it was not. Right now, we can think of brands like Nikon or Sony or Canon, but it was started by Kodak. But Kodak thought that it's not a great idea. We'll kill our film business. There are so many. The GUI was started by Xerox, but then Microsoft is currently the market leader in that space. So while they had early mover advantage and they must have spent tons and tons of money on R&D, today somebody else is the market leader. I think we should shift the focus back to the customer. To the customer, I don't think innovation matters as much as great quality product. If you look at Apple as well, they had so many products in incubation, but there were so many iterations of it, and finally it was refined to a point where it is great for the customer. So I feel it depends. It could be, and even your McDonald's example for that matter. There's a brand in America called White Castle, which is probably one of the early movers into the fast food space. They had multiple, if you watch old Hollywood movies, you'll see that they have multiple, they have presence all over America, right? But McDonald's made that idea better. They made it truly global. So I think we stand on the shoulders of giants. Innovation happens because somebody has already done something. I don't know whether we can call it stealing. I think it's constantly making it better because ultimately the customer wants something better. Customer doesn't care who started it first.
Just to answer your question first, if A copied from B and got more, I think A should get the difference of A and B. But anyway, so I think many years back, one of the leadership trainings, I still remember the professor from IMB actually had come in for a 1-hour discussion. And we were at that juncture of trying to say that how do we become more innovative in our companies? Is it patents? Is it something else? Is it process excellence? A lot of discussions were going on. And he introduced this whole concept of value creation and said it's not just about innovation. It's actually what value you are creating because of that innovation, right? And he introduced us to this four-wing framework of innovation. So when you talk about value, it's not just the create part of it. Is there something you're doing where you are eliminating something? Are you doing anything, creating value by reducing something? Are you creating value by raising something? Suddenly, when you think through that, right, like the examples what he gave, you don't have to be innovative to be successful. You can actually look at the other three vectors and see what are the things you're doing which can make you successful. I think that's one point. The second one is how it's yes, a lot of companies who have innovated earlier might not even exist today. Now, the companies who are filing the patents today might not be the top-notch companies, but they're securing themselves, right? One example I can give you is Fujifilm. A lot of people might have thought that why would Fujifilms be relevant today? If you go down the 100-feet road in Indiranagar today, the Neura health screening facility is actually Fujifilm. They've taken the technology of a camera and they found out that this camera can actually go through your body and they do the bone density mapping and early cancer detection. So it's just the same camera, but it's just a precision camera which can do a much better job. So they just change the focus. And today they are big in healthcare. So I think being innovative keeps a company young. And I don't think you have a choice. You need to do that, but I think the focus should be more on the value creation.
So then, like what you were saying, so then for Fuji Films, in some way, innovation is a moat, right? So do you think that that moat is still needed for companies to be able to do well or stay on in the race, or it could be just one thing? There could other things that they could look on.
No, I think I'll put it in a little bit of a context, right? So life is a paradox. Anyway, live it. And I just heard this from a Gartner CTO, right? He said, for every yes, ideally there is a no. So whether it is strategy, thinking, innovation. Now let me put the origin. So there are three parts to it. If I have to put it in a a triad, right? Like which is one is the originality. The second one, of course, there's innovation and execution, right? Stemming with 20 years in a big four, right? Now, is anything one overrated? I don't think so. It all depends on the context we are. Now, the originality, whether he was talking about who are the market leaders, or you could be standing out as product companies for what your value proposition is, or being a market leader, or in the people space for what employee value propositions you stand for, right? What value proposition you create for your customers. So, is originality overrated? There is a sense of pride that you attach to your originality, whether it is in the context of your own organizational values, behaviors, value proposition to clients. So that is one thing. The next piece is innovation. Recently, we had invited a speaker from Amazon Web Services. So he says Amazon believes in the philosophy of fail fast, right? Absolutely fail fast. So to the point on innovation, it's also about two things: do new things and do things new, right? To his point on whether it is the Neura healthcare, I personally have experienced Neura, right? It is fantastic. We've seen right in terms of BlackBerry days to Nokia to Fujifilm to multiple things, right? Why? Like I said, for an every yes, there was a no. Or possibly the third element, I'm talking about execution, right? And I think a lot of thought leadership around. There's so much of strategic thinking, but doesn't blend with execution. So I think it is really about not one over the other, but putting all of these three things in context to really today it is all survival of the fittest. And as recent as DeepSeek, we have seen in terms of innovation, how they kind of just has put, all of us, has really stumped the world. That's a brilliant case of innovation where China has stood up today, right? So I'm thinking, it's not one over the other, but I think for any organization to sustain, to be a market leader today, it's about really putting things in context, constantly evaluating and reflecting on where we are and it's like really about which gear you need to accelerate to continue to be that market leader. That's my two bets on it.